Yes. Hope everyone with me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes. Then what do you know about the Spring MVC? Okay. Okay. No problem. See, Spring MVC, I can say it is one of the module of a Spring framework. Spring framework. Okay. Basically, it is used to develop a Spring-based web application. Spring-based web application. So whenever we guys have to develop the web application, till now, whatever we guys have discussed, that is completely for the standalone application only. No doubt the same concept that will be get applicable to the web. Okay, but that was completely related to the standalone application. Okay, so we have created the demos as a standalone and we have executed that. But now, if I have to develop the web application, okay, which we guys have already developed web application by using the servlet and JSP. Exactly same kind of application with the framework support. Same application, but with the framework support if we have to develop the application. Okay, then we can just simply go for the Spring MVC. We can just go for the Spring MVC. So this Spring MVC application, follows, okay, it follows MVC design pattern. MVC design pattern for application development. It follows the MVC design pattern for application development. We can say development. Okay, so that means what here? M stands for model. M stands for model. V stands for, okay, view. Okay, and C stands for, I just say controller. Okay, I just say controller. So when we say that Spring MVC follows the MVC design pattern, that means what? The different logics will be get separated by the model, will be separated by the view, and will be separated by the controllers. Okay, so here you can simply see what is view exactly here. So you can simply understand here that view is nothing but the presentation logic. View is nothing but the presentation logic. Okay, that means what the graphical user interface. So we can have the JSP, we can have the HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Okay, as well as we can have the Angular, we can have the React. Even we can have the theme which is being provided by the Spring. So it represents the presentation. It represents the presentation part which will be get displayed on the browser. Okay, so all the presentation logic we can simply separate with the help of the view. We can just simply separate with the help of a view. Then we have the controller. These are the control. Actually, in the Spring based application, basically we have the two controllers. One is the front end controller and another one is the back end controller. So in this Spring based application or Spring MVC application, we do have the two controllers. Front end controller, I can simply say front end controller, and the second one we do have the back end controllers. So here actually these back end controllers are the user defined classes. These are the user defined classes you guys are going to use. And in this one, okay, in this we do have this is a standard one provided by the Spring framework. Okay, we call it as the dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet acts as the front controller. This dispatcher servlet acts as the controller. But what is the purpose of this controller? Controller is used to handle the request and the responses. Whenever okay, request and the responses have to be get handled, okay, compulsory we are going to use the controller. That means what? Request response handling logic. Request response handling the logic we can simply put into the controller. So user defined logic, if we explicitly we have to write that code, so we create the user defined controllers, we call it as the backend controller, and there we can put our request response handling logic, which we guys have to learn here. With that one we have the dispatcher servlet. We do have the dispatcher servlet. That dispatcher servlet is the standard class. We need to configure in our application inside the web.xml file. So that it will be get available, okay, into the application managed by the Spring. Okay, its life cycle will be get managed by the Spring container itself. Okay, that class available to the application. So this every request coming to the application and every response going from our application will be get routed through the dispatcher servlet. Will be get, and it will be get configured inside the web.xml file like normal servlet we guys have configured by using that. You guys must remember that. Okay, servlet name, servlet class. Okay, then inside the servlet mapping we have the servlet name and the URL pattern. Like that one only, dispatcher servlet is the servlet only. So we can just configure inside the web.xml file. And as we configure like this one, so that okay, every request coming to your application that will go to the dispatcher servlet. Okay, and every response going back from our application, it will go to the dispatcher servlet. Okay, so request coming to the dispatcher servlet, it will be get delegated to the backend controllers. These are the logical classes. Example, I can have the employee controller. So employee related CRUDs I can just put over here. Employee related I can just put over here. Okay, or any other controllers even we can just put like this one. So this is the class you guys have to create. This will be a standard one. So this is the controller, and there is the model. Here we can just put our business logic. There we can put the bean classes. We can have the bean classes, or even we can go with some database logic. Okay, database logic even we can put here. So all the three different logic we can just simply separate. By using the model view and the controller design pattern. Okay, and this Spring MVC follows this model view design pattern, model MVC design pattern we can say. So this is exactly we guys have to learn here. We guys have to learn over here into the Spring MVC. So how this model layer, okay, view layer and the controller layer are going to connect with each other. So simply for basic understanding, I can simply tell you that. Okay, this is your browser. Okay, we can say it will be called as a web client. It is also called as a web client. Okay, web client. So this browser is there, and now we do have the Spring based application over here. So in the application, when the request is coming, that request will first go to the dispatcher servlet. That dispatcher servlet, I also call it as the main controller. It is also called as a main controller. or it is also called as a front-end controller. So when a request coming from the browser, it will go to the dispatches. Dispatcher servlet will delegate. I will discuss you in the workflow. So it will from here actually it will go to the backend controller. Okay, it will go to the backend controller. Okay, it will go to the backend controller. It can be like employee controller. It can be how the it can be how the address controller. Okay, or it can have any logical controllers which is used to handle the request on responses. So there it will be goes there. Okay, there it will be goes there. So from that backend controller actually, okay, it will go to the service layer. It will go to the DAO layer. In the DAO layer, actually, we are going to put our database logic, and from there it will communicate with the database. So you can simply understand here. I do have the service layer over here. Service layer over here. I just write here the service layer. Service layer, there even we can put the business logic. We can have some the model layer classes we can put over here. Then after that one we can have the DAO layer. DAO layer nothing but the data access layer. DAO layer is nothing but the data access layer where we are going to put the database related logic. Database related logic. So you can put the JDBC code, or you can use the JPA code, or in advanced Spring we can use the Spring Data JPA code. But that code you can just put inside this one, and after that one, okay, after that one there will be the database only. There will be the database. So in the database, if you have the record, we can fetch that, or if you want to save that record, it will be get saved there. So from here again it will come back to the DAO layer. From here it will again come back to the service layer. From the service layer again it will come back to the backend controller, and from the backend controller it will come back to the dispatcher servlet, and dispatcher servlet will actually give the response back. Here it will give the response back to the browser. Okay, so this is exactly that we are going to do over here. So browser, that means that without internet this application will not work. So compulsory with the help of the internet, we are going to put, and this entire application which I said dispatcher servlet with the backend controller, service layer, DAO layer, and the database layer, actually that we are going to put onto the server. We are going to put onto the server. Server here we can use the Tomcat as a web server, Tomcat as a server. Okay, so where on the container I say, so that we are going to use here. Okay, so as we are working with this one, okay, so this is exactly the flow I need to maintain. So programmatically, if you are the programmer, what you have to write? The dispatcher servlet you don't need to write. We just have to configure inside the web.xml file. That's it. Okay, if you do have the backend controller, these are the so many controllers. These are the logical classes to handle the request and responses. Okay, so that logic we are going to write over here. Okay, then service layer classes we are going to write. DAO layer classes we are going to write. We are going to put some database related code. Okay, we are going to put the database related code. Okay, so like that one we are going to maintain with this one for the presentation, because no doubt all your JSPs or the HTML that are present over here into your application, but that needs to get displayed on the browser. So in our case, we can use the simple HTML, or we can use the JSP. Okay, that will access the response. That will access the display. That will be access the presentation layer. That will access the view over here. That will access the view that will be get displayed. So in your application there itself, we can create the JSPs into our web application, and there we can put our code. Okay, so writing the backend controller, service layer, and as well as the down layer. With that one, we have to write the presentation code. We have to write the view. Okay, that can be a simple JSP or the HTMLs or even other presentation technologies, even that we can use over here. So this is the overall needed. Whenever we guys are going to develop the Spring based web application, that is web application using the Spring MVC. Hope you guys are getting.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, super. So here, while doing this one, programmatically, no doubt, like the JSP files as well as the HTMLs, okay, needed over here. With that one, okay, we can use the XML configurations. Okay, there is not like we have to use the XML only. We can use the Java configuration as well as the XML configuration. Just now we have discussed about the Java configurations. So either you can go for the Java configuration, or here we can go for the XML configuration. So I'm just discussing here about the XML configuration. So I have to use the XML configuration. So one very important file we have to use web.xml file, where we can configure the dispatcher servlet. Already this file we have used. Inside the, okay, this file we have used inside the servlet and JSPs applications there in the web application. Same file it will be there, but with other content which we have discussed over there, we can use here the dispatcher servlet to be get configured inside this. Okay, with that one we can use some Spring configuration files. Spring, okay, I say configuration file, Spring configuration.xml files. Okay, so that even we need. So Spring related code, like in the Spring core, even we had that Spring configuration file. Exactly same here too. We need the Spring configuration files. Okay, so there we can just simply add some Spring related configurations. That means that if we need some beans, okay, then even we can put that one, so that it will be get managed by the container. So there are some standard beans actually we can use here into the Spring bin. This one, like even we have the property placeholder we can configure over there. Okay, with that one we have the view resolvers. Okay, to return the presentation logic actually. Okay, to specify the prefix and the postfix, so that view resolver you can configure inside that. So that is what, with this code we have to put the XML files. One, okay, that is the web application web.xml file, and then another one, that is the Spring configuration files. So entire things related to this one. Okay, entire thing related to this Spring MVC. Okay, even the Spring, we can say simply the Spring request flow, and with that one, okay, the demo applications even we are going to observe about the Spring MVC. This is the very important module of the Spring framework. Okay, so we should understand this one. If we are understanding the Spring MVC and we goes for the Spring Boot application to develop the Spring REST application, okay, or the Spring Web application, Spring Boot web application, so it will be very easy to understand you guys. You are compatible with the if you are compatible with the Spring MVC application. So in the next few days, actually, we are going to finish that one. Okay, Spring MVC. As we finish with the Spring MVC, okay, maximum part of our training that will be get covered. Then only few things that will be left, okay, related to our training path. Okay, guys.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Hope you guys are getting this. What I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any question?